This podcast is brought to you by EnergyX. Are you tired of paying huge rates to the big cloud providers? Are you worried about being booted off a cloud platform if your company doesn't meet their ever-shifting standards? Ready to step up your data security and disaster recovery game? Well, ladies and gentlemen, your new cloud is ready. Introducing xCloud, the scalable, resilient computing cloud that is also actually affordable. It's high-performance compute for half the cost. HPC for HTC. xCloud from Red Team is opening a beta program for new cloud computing customers, and that means you, my friend. The xCloud is powered by the XMDC immersion-cooled modular data center from EnergyX. I've seen this data center in operation, and it is a total game changer. So if you want more information about the beta launch, go to the URL in the description. Type in promo code BETA, B-E-T-A, for 50% off of your first instance. And so the URL is going to be digitalwildcatters.com/EnergyX.
What's going on, Digital Wildcatters? Welcome to another episode of the Oil and Gas Startups. I've been absent for a while now. I think this is my first podcast in a month I've recorded. So Jake's been doing them, but got my friend Romel from Refinery Calc on the show today. Dude, appreciate you being in. We got introduced through my good friend Napoleon, who didn't want to be on camera today. Me and Napoleon have trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo together for probably 7 years now. So shout out to Napoleon for making this happen. So real quick, I don't know anything about y'all's company. Tell me, high level, 40,000 foot overview, what is Refinery Calc?
Sure. Thanks for having us here today, Colin. Really appreciate it. Really excited to be here and being able to offer, those who watch the podcast some information about our company.
Yeah.
What I like to describe Refinery Calc as, we are a global refining operations intelligence company. And we do it through our proprietary SaaS-based software system, plus our live data-fed ecosystem.
All right.
And if I had to boil it down to just something fundamental that we do really well, we use technology and we incorporate what we call a lot of labor-intensive data sets.
Okay.
And we filter it in and combine it into our technology to produce some really hard to get after answers.
All right. So, I'm mainly an upstream guy, so I'm going to have a lot of questions for you, just based around downstream and refinery operations in the first place and the problems that y'all are solving. But first, tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your background? And talk about, you can start at point of inception if you want to, and give me your story and how y'all got here.
Sure. Thank you. Again, I'm Romel Oates. I'm the founder and CEO of Refinery Calc. This company has been a vision of mine and a product of that vision. Quick way of background. I spent my career in chemicals, refining, industrial gases, and energy. And I've done it for big companies. I've done it at the venture capital level. And I've been successful in a lot of key roles as I was growing through, I'd say my transition of becoming an entrepreneur. This is what I love doing. It's my passion. I love putting together, Colin, what I call little pieces, right? Everything starts with fundamental pieces or molecules. And then I like combining them, putting them together, and building great products. And in products, if you can solve key problems, you can turn them into companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I pulled up Refinery Calc's website. Great website, by the way. Here it is. If you're watching on video. So, on y'all's website, really the way that you have this this messaging is you're the global refinery intelligence partner. And so essentially, you've built out this, to me, what it sounds like just looking at the surface and hearing you talk, is this data intelligence platform. Who is the end user for this product? Who wants this data and intelligence?
So we cater to several types of users, right? First and foremost, we cater to traders who are trying to understand at any given time, Colin, they're trying to understand the global supply and demand picture, right? And if you think about refineries, they're pretty complicated, call it technology, right? That integrates all these various processes.
Yeah.
So the trader is trying to figure out at any point in time how much gasoline or distillate or fuel oil is being produced as a function of all these input variables. Think about it, refineries are refining various grades of crude oil all over the world. Some of them have access to ports, so they can bring in various types of crude oil. The crude oils have different prices. Each refinery has a different configuration. Those configurations have different capacities, right? You got to think about the different prices tied to the crude oil plus the products they're able, and then outages, Colin, right?
Yeah.
At any one time, right, here comes Mother Nature with a storm, or there's some reliability issue, and that process unit is shut down.
Yeah.
Right. The traders want to know, weaving in all those various input variables, right? What does the supply side of the equation look like? And that's where Refinery Calc really shines, right?
Gotcha.
Is because we do all that mapping. We're mapping the crude diets. We have a team of global intel specialists who are tracking refinery outages, right? So those unit upsets. We're tracking pricing. We have pricing partner. Our pricing partner is General Index. They're like the third largest pricing supplier in the world.
Yeah.
And we use their pricing for crude as well as product prices.
Yeah.
And then we use our other partner, if you saw on the website, is Vortexa.
Yeah.
So we use Vortexa in helping us understand crude flows.
Okay.
Right. And then we have our intel specialists who are out there gathering intelligence for landlocked refineries, et cetera. So we build out that data ecosystem, and those traders love it because, man, I told you, fundamentally, we do a lot of the grunt work.
Yeah.
Right. Just imagine mapping all
I mean, if
those
you think
units.
about Bloomberg Terminal back in the day, what it provided for traders and financial institutions, said, hey, we're going to aggregate all of this data and put it into a platform where you can have all of this insight. Sounds like it's kind of similar vision, except niching down to refinery and supply side of crude.
Exactly.
Is that fair? So, tell me about, you mentioned Vortexa. I'm not familiar with Vortexa. And then I see General Index on here as well. So it sounds like, y'all have built this hub in this data platform, and you're working with, some of these other data providers and bringing their information in. Is Vortexa, are they a data provider? Is that what they are?
Yeah,
okay.
Vortexa is a data provider. And to your other question, so our key users of our platform are the traders, producers, midstream companies, asset managers, even those who have a need for hydrogen intelligence or energy intelligence. We serve all those particular end users.
Yeah, this has definitely been a hot topic this week. You have OPEC come in, and anytime OPEC makes a decision, Twitter blows up with people talking about, hey, what does this mean for supply moving forward in the future? So let's boil this down a little bit.
Sure.
We have a lot of people that listen to this podcast, and myself included. We're upstream, we're not downstream and refining. Don't understand trading 100% end to end. So these traders, if you're looking at, BP, Exxon, Shell, all of these companies have their own trading shops internally. And then, you have hedge funds, things of this nature. And for them, really information and real-time insight is the edge. And if you don't have that, you're just falling behind, right? But let's break down the trading process a little bit. Let's talk about physical traders. What are they actually, someone, works at Shell and they're a trader. What are they actually trying to achieve? What are they doing? Can you kind of give us like a high level overview of that?
Sure. Now, we work with our traders in a manner that helps them make better decisions. That's what Refinery Calc is about. Now, traders are they all have their own strategy, Colin.
Yeah.
The nice thing about it is that our ecosystem allows them to use our technology, use the data that helps them make decisions.
Yeah.
We ourselves are not traders, but we assist and aid them in their process, right? They're trying to find arbitrage opportunities. They're trying to find those nuggets of information that are hard to get at.
Yeah.
Right? Because given how, information exchange is pretty easy in this century that we live in. But what makes it powerful that traders and asset managers and producers get out of our platform is capability to use what we call our engine mode technology.
Okay.
That's what's really special.
Okay.
Which means, so if I'm a trader, right, and at any point in time you wanted to understand, gasoline or distillate make in any particular region of the world, it's very hard to get after that, right, to get that answer. That's where our technology comes in. It truly allows them in rapid succession, pulling all this live data. It comes into our technology. So our technology does the optimization of the refineries, just the way the refinery would.
Yeah.
But it's independently built. It's fast. It runs on a cloud. It gives them those answers that they're seeking to those difficult problems.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, right, you say, what are traders trying to do? They live or die on a trade, trying to make money. Right. And at the end of the day, you say, well, how do they do that? It's about information arbitrage.
Yeah. Who
has the information sooner, faster, more digestible than somebody else on the other side of the trade?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we prepare what I call a very nice concoction, you have to have that engine mode technology. We're the only ones in the world who can run every refinery in the world in a couple hours. That's every single one in optimized fashion with all those key input variables coming into the platform.
Yeah.
That's what makes Refinery Calc special.
Yeah.
And it gives those particular end users enhanced capability.
Yeah. You know what I'm really curious about, like on the Intel side, on the refinery operations, on the website, y'all have real-time outages, real-time capacity. How do you get information like that from real-time outages? Like going back to like the Bloomberg terminal reference, they just got a team of analysts that are sitting there on phones, calling people and talking to people. How does it work from y'all? I know you have these partnerships with some data providers, but on some of this other stuff like outages, how are y'all going about getting accurate information?
Very good question. We get that a lot, and this is why it's valuable to partner with Refinery Calc, right? And it's per our tagline. We actually do refine complexity. That's the whole key point around Refinery Calc.
That's a good tagline. That's good branding.
We refine complexity. In other words, we do a lot of that grunt work so our traders and our asset managers, producers, midstream companies can focus on their solution that they're able to get out of our platform. But how do we get data? So we do it in a few different ways. One, we have a team of Intel specialists, right? They sit around the world and are globally tracking various forms of data, right? We have geospatial intelligent services out there. So we have satellites moving around and we're getting data and information from that particular platform.
Yeah.
We're also making calls and doing grassroots research, talking with different suppliers, and that data is out there.
Yeah.
And then we also have, Colin, we have our AI technology, right? It's RC AI technology.
Okay.
And so we're combing and sifting through all types of channels to get data to try to triangulate as to what's real and what's false.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're sifting messaging boards. We're sifting through millions and gigabytes worth of data daily to try to put that equation together around to outages and things like that.
Yeah. You're building this knowledge graph essentially. And I imagine a lot of the data that you're having to work with is unstructured data. And so cleaning it up, standardizing it, figuring out, what's signal, what's noise. I loved how you said, we're even sifting through forums and things of that nature, taking stuff that, may be public, like, you can probably go over on Twitter and there's a ton of valuable, just little nuggets of information from people, but, there's no structured way to actually bring that in. So that's all really interesting. How do y'all look at the platform? Do you look, say I'm a trader and, we have a trade shop and we want to use this. Do you make it to where we have API access to bring in the data? Do we have to use the platform and y'all's, user interface? How does that work? Try to put me in, if I have it in front of me on the computer.
Yeah. So we try to meet each one of our end users in a way that they're most comfortable using our platform, right? We have some users who want to digitally speak to Refinery Calc.
Yeah.
And we meet their needs through our API. So we have a full-blown API. API allows two digital systems to talk and communicate with each other.
Yeah.
So we have APIs built with SDK clients. So if those people like Python, JavaScript, C, things like that, you can easily communicate with our platform.
Okay.
Without even having to go to the website. Then we have users who really like our user interface. It's powerful, it's fast. There's a lot of graphical and visual intelligence. We made it what we call, quote unquote, Apple-like intuitive.
Yeah.
When you think about, Colin, this refinery optimization Intel space, it's very easy to overcomplicate things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where I think we struck a nerve and really resonate with our end users. Here's our value proposition. We do everything on the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
We're super fast, right? We're doing all that grunt work in data mapping and mining. We're bringing in the outages, tracking crude diets, pricing. We're building out that ecosystem. And then our technology is best in class.
Yeah.
Being able to run through hundreds of refineries in a couple hours, it would not be possible 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that's interesting with technology is that currently, especially when you start talking about machine learning models and AI, is that the technology just didn't exist on a commercially viable basis 5 years ago.
Exactly.
Much less 10 years ago. And so some of the things that we're able to do in terms of aggregating data, standardizing it, cleaning it up, and then being able to digest it and spit out something that's usable and actually has, digestible context is something that's just really been enabled over the last several years.
Yeah, no, you're right. And so we've been on a cutting edge, right? That's the thing about Refinery Calc. We stay cutting edge. So we're a team of, like I said, we bring a wide spectrum of refining intelligence, upstream as well as midstream components that we bolt on with other data providers or alliance partnerships to build out this ecosystem. But where our niche is, we're really good at the engineering side and the development, bringing in new tools and processes. We stay true to our tagline, right? We truly do focus on refining the complexity for our end users, right? And that's why I said some users love our user interface and they like our scheduler mode. Because, Colin, to do this right, it's okay to give the answer one time, but that answer changes over time, right? As all this minutia and these variables change. So you need technology that's fast, it's accurate, it's doing all that data mining, it's triangulating all those key pieces of information to where it gives you and centers in on the right answer. Yeah. And that's what we do really well. Then we bring in advanced components like AI. We're the first ones in this refining optimization space to incorporate AI, right? In a way that's functional, useful, and adds value.
I have a few questions for you. Let me figure out where I want to start off with this. One, when did y'all found the company? When did you start this up?
Yeah, we started this company. So we were working at it, right? Yeah. It's difficult. It's a long story, but like technically.
I said, hey, look, I started this podcast in 2018, but didn't officially, found the company until 2020. Yeah. So
about 2020 is when we officially launched Refinery Calc.
Okay.
We didn't, Colin, I'd sit here, I'd be lying to you. We didn't know if it was going to work, right? I literally didn't know this was going to work. And I tell people, Colin, if I ever had to do it again, I wouldn't. Yeah. I would not.
This is very fair. I mean, a lot of times when you start something, you never know if it's going to work or not, right? Know. And so, but you don't know until you start trying and taking a stab at it. So that's very fair for most companies.
Yeah, very, very difficult.
Did you said you started it, you launched Refinery Calc around 2020. Have y'all bootstrapped this? Did you take any funding? Have y'all gone about commercializing it?
Yeah, so it's grassroots effort, right? So I founded the company. I personally bootstrapped it, right? So we're very, like I said, we don't even consider ourselves a startup. We're scaling up the company, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll talk about some of our segments that is allowing us to truly grow.
Yeah.
But no, our company has been, like I said, I've done really well in industry and the venture capital space.
Yeah.
And it really, you're going to love this story, Colin. It was during COVID, right? I run another company, and it was during COVID where, because of travel being shut down, things like that, I finally had enough time to say, you know what? Let me bring this vision that I've had for several years. Let me see if I can bring this to life, right? Now, I will say it was my vision, and I have to give credit to Industrial Info Resources, their energy group, IR Energy. It was actually Mr. Paul Capello. And Paul, hi, Paul. It was Paul who said, Romel, have you ever thought about using your technology, your capability for the market intelligence world? And I said, Paul, no, because we're grassroots engineers. We like doing really things that are technical, specific, more sharpshooter type. And he said, well, if you ever thought about it, right, we'd be really interested in working together and building out some capability, because he said, I'll tell you about, there's a large world or opportunity for these types of answers if you can operate at the speed of our data and how it flows.
Yeah.
And so you can see how COVID, being grounded, can't travel, an opportunity to bring a vision to life, and a potential partner who's saying, yeah, there's actually a market, right?
Yeah.
And then I was just crazy enough with some other people, Colin, to spend days and nights trying to get all of these systems to talk to each other, doing it on the cloud, right? And remember, our equation that we're trying to solve is, how do you make it easy for people to get answers? And we trademarked this. Our theme is one button click reality, because, Colin, no one wants to read a 30-page report, right? No one wants to have to sift through all these messy data streams. They really want everything done, everything being pulled in with one button click.
You want to streamline information. I mean, it's the same thing with our DW Insight product that we're bringing to market right now. Think if you're a production engineer at a upstream company and you're trying to figure out what's going on with methane mitigation and flaring, you don't have 6 hours to go listen to a podcast, right? But using AI, make it, hey, methane emissions, boom, pulls up all the information, tells you where we talk about it, what's happening. It's the same thing, same concept. Is that people they want streamlined information, and you're seeing this with the rise of large language models. I mean, people aren't going to Google anymore to search for things. I can go to ChatGPT or Claude or any of these and get an answer. We want answers, and we want context and information around that data. And so this is a trend that's not only happening in the refining space, but across every industry and all over the world. So super interesting stuff. Let's talk about you mentioned hydrogen earlier.
Yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit, the future that it plays, and how refineries are looking at it. And then I have some follow-up questions after that, but let's talk hydrogen for a minute, because it's been a hot topic for a couple of years now. So
absolutely happy to dive into hydrogen.
Yeah. So for y'all, what are y'all tracking in terms of data or insight when it comes to hydrogen?
It like I said, fundamentally what our company does, right? We have powerful software, but you won't hear me talk too much about that, right? We're doing all these things with data. You don't hear me talk too much about that. What we focus on at Refinery Calc is bringing end users answers. Because at the end of the day, they don't care about how fast it is. They don't care that things are on the cloud, right? They only care about, can you provide me the answer? And can you repeatedly give it to me? Hydrogen is one of those divisions we created. We created a division within Refinery Calc. We call it Hydrogen Calc. And it was born from, again, how do we provide answers to end users who's after some of this information? Now, we know we have something very special in regards to hydrogen. We do a hydrogen balance on all the refineries that we model, right? It's a very highly sought after data set, right? Because when you bring in all those variables, the crude diet, the pricing, configurations, capacities, and then you can optimize on all those variables, you end up doing a hydrogen balance, right? We can tell our users, any user in the world, how much hydrogen that any particular refinery on any day is approximately consuming, right? So that's one of our key aspects, is hydrogen intensity.
Yeah.
And it was born, so we launched this Hydrogen Calc platform here in June. And we do several things really well, right? So one, you don't know this, Colin, but I have deep-rooted expertise in the hydrogen space. Been deeply involved in over 20 years in the hydrogen space, covering every aspect of the value chain: engineering, operations, sales, business development, product management, you name it, right? And I've done it on the industrial hydrogen side, as well as the new nomenclature is clean hydrogen or low carbon hydrogen, right? And those are varieties where you're basically mitigating the carbon, right? They call it blue if you're sequestering the carbon, right? And some formation or something like that. Green if it's purely produced by renewable electricity, et cetera. But we found traders, Colin. There's a lot of traders who are trying to get ahead of when hydrogen becomes commoditized. Key point. Right now, hydrogen is not commoditized. It's basically locally produced and regionally consumed, right? And it's not being shipped all over the world.
There's not a world market for it.
There's no world market for it. We're still trying to figure out a global carbon policy that makes sense, right? That will allow hydrogen to become commoditized. But once that happens, then it breaks free, right? It truly becomes liberated. And that's where, like I said, our Refinery Calc, our Hydrogen Calc division is a key precursor to that happening. Right? We do several things really well in Hydrogen Calc. One, we're tracking more than anybody in our database right now, Colin. We track over 2,000 hydrogen projects. The green, the blue, the gray, et cetera. We're tracking everyone. Remember, we have that team of global intel specialists. We've expanded upon them, and we have our hydrogen intel specialists. They're doing all the research on all these projects. What you'll find if you're studying hydrogen now, lots of announcements. You can't walk down the street or any type of conference these days around energy where there's not a theme catered to around hydrogen. So we're tracking the projects. We actually track production costs amongst every major region in the world. We actually even have market pricing, right? So we get into market pricing because we have a good understanding of the regional supply and demand dynamics. So we do a lot of really neat things in that space.
I've recorded several podcasts with hydrogen technologies that are really, focused around electrolyzers and things of this nature. And it's interesting to me because, the way that you framed it was, it's produced locally and consumed regionally is kind of a good way of framing that, because the conversations I've had, people are like, hey, we have renewable electricity. We're running it through this electrolyzer technology, and then that's being used for feedstock for steel or something like that. And that's interesting. But to your point, it's like if you can get this global market and trade and commoditize it and have your different grades, just like we have with crude. That's where things get interesting. And so that's good to hear about how y'all are thinking about it, kind of short term and long term. And the market pricing is also
it's key.
It's key. I recorded a podcast a while back with a guy that has a production company in Arizona that produces helium. And as I was sitting there talking to him, it was like just realizing like, oh, there's no transparency into the pricing of helium and there's no market for it. And then you look at what's happening with lithium, and you have Exxon moving over into the Smackover to extract lithium out of brine water from oil and gas wells, and the pricing of those elements is super interesting to me because there's really not a market for it. And so I'm trying to wrap my head around that, and then just curious, do you ever see it in the future for y'all on the roadmap of trying to build data and intelligence around other commodities such as helium and lithium?
So we're core to what we think we do well, right? It's evidenced by our customers telling us, hey, we really like this Refinery Calc. We love this about your Hydrogen Calc division. What I'm a big believer in, Colin, is I try to build things that create value, right? At the end of the day, right? We should be able to distill things, what we do, and there should be a clear value proposition, right? I think what we do really well, we bring technology, we stay cutting edge, and we combine pieces that make more value versus their individual parts. And that recipe has served us well. We will stay on a cutting edge of things that we believe that when we're passionate about that make a lot of sense, make the world a better place, and it creates value, right, in a tangible form. I think we will get more into understanding carbon, right, and tracking that. And we do some of that already. We're cutting edge. In the future, we believe crude will be traded as a function of the amount of carbon once refined, right? We'll know, so right now crude is focused on a lot of it is, API gravity sulfur, right? We went already, like if you look in and you run our Refinery Calc platform, for every grade of crude oil, we have its estimated refined crude carbon intensity, right? Because eventually people are going to say, well, yeah, I like this barrel of crude. How much carbon is it going to cost me, right, when I refine it? Because there'll be a penalty price, right? Or there'll be an offset that somebody will have to purchase. So to your point, we're going to stay cutting edge. We'll stay above the curve in creating products and services that create value.
Got you. Yeah, with carbon, it's really interesting moving forward in the future, especially you're seeing a lot of platforms that are coming up for carbon credits and things of that nature. And it's not fully fleshed out. There's a lot of grift and fraud happening. And I don't know if you saw this report a couple of weeks ago, but I can't remember which company it was, but essentially, got a huge bag on your that you're holding on your balance sheet of carbon credits that ended up being, fraudulent. And so I imagine in the future, people are going to want a lot more transparency and insight to carbon markets. So, it's just really exciting time and energy to, be seeing the different things that can be tracked and bringing some of these, more archaic processes, if you will, into the digital age.
I think, to kind of help accelerate, here's a challenge right now as we stick on the theme of hydrogen. Hydrogen is part of the conversation around decarbonization, right? And the challenge with decarbonization is that the carbon markets aren't really formed yet. They're tied up. There's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of going back and forth with a lot of lawyers trying to sort through these things. And ultimately happens, Colin, right, is, if you don't have free markets and those fundamentals working together, and you have, call it outside external intervention, governments, things like that, it naturally creates what I call hustles, right? You're going to see a lot of the hydrogen hustles, the carbon hustles, right? There's a lot of smart people who are going to use and maneuver that language in a way it was not intended to do so, right?
For sure.
So it does not surprise me. This is where, like I said, we do a really good job at Hydrogen Calc in helping our customers and end users decode that market. We have some really cool things with our dashboard, our intelligent services that we offer to bring transparency to the market, and we bring rationale in terms of dissecting it for them. Hey, here's real. This is reality. This is a hustle. Let us tell you why, right?
Yeah, I think that's ultimately what it's about, is decreasing the noise and, improving the signal.
That's right.
So being able to sift through all that stuff. Well, this is super interesting stuff, man. Really appreciate you telling us about it. If someone is listening and they are interested in learning about Refinery Calc, where can they go to learn about you guys? What's the website URL?
Sure. You can easily find us, www.refinerycalc.com. Right. And if you care about hydrogen, it's very simple. www.hydrogencalc.com.
You guys locked down the good domains. You were fortunate. So we'll leave links in the show notes. If you want to check out Refinery Calc and Hydrogen Calc, you can go to their website, check them out there. Romel, thank you for coming on the show today, man. This has been awesome. If y'all enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, share it on LinkedIn, share it on Twitter, share it on Instagram, share it on whatever social media platform you want to. Just share it with someone. And we have our Fuse. I'm trying to think of what we have going on. We got a shit ton of things going on at Digital Wildcatters. We have Fuse coming up October 31st, Houston, Texas, 30th and 31st. Make sure you check that out. Get tickets now before they go up in price. I'm going to have lots of cool energy tech there. We got speakers like John Arnold. We have Bobby Tudor. And so stout lineup there. Hope to see you guys there. We will catch y'all on the next episode.